That was a quick 30 seconds. Good evening, everyone. It's 7 o'clock. Let's get our meeting started. Please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Beautiful. Good to see everybody. I threw drop. So there's only one change to the agenda tonight. I'd like to add, right after a monthly budget report, 7A, I'd like to add the 250 committee. I'd like to put a monument in front of or behind the town hall. And I'd like to discuss it and vote on that tonight. So if you can add that to the meeting, 7A, monument review, town hall. With that, someone make a motion to accept the agenda.
So moved.
I'll second it.
All right, Dave seconds it. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion passes. Did everyone get a chance to review our past meetings?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So we'll make a motion to approve the November 18th meeting. I'm sorry, the November 5th meeting. Well, actually, we'll do all three of them. The
You want-
November 5th,
What's that?
is it the November 5th, November 18th,
Are
and
we
these?
gonna do it separately?
Because
Because I'm gonna abstain.
Oh, that's right, because you want to, so all, so.
I'll make a
November 5th
motion that
meeting.
we approve the minutes from the November 5th, 2025 meeting.
I'll second that.
All right, discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
Yeah.
Abstention, there you go.
I make a motion that we approve the meeting from the special meeting on November 18th, 2025.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
And I make a motion that we approve the special meeting from November 24th, 2025.
I'll second that.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion's passed. Excellent. Communication and correspondence. I don't have anything specific today, so we'll go right on. Public comment.
If I can, I just want to make everybody aware of, we just posted, Susan Bransfield recorded the history of,
Yes.
Portland Brownstone, from, all, since its history. And I posted that on the town website, but she did a phenomenal job outlining the history of the town. And it's on the town website. It's also been posted on Facebook. So I just want to thank her, and she did a phenomenal job doing that.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, that was a labor of love for a few years working on that.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, she did a lot of work on that.
Absolutely with a lot, and it's fascinating. What long history. I did have one thing that happened today that may rise to the level of interesting. I had a gentleman stop by today, longtime Portland resident, 77 years old, been here since 1963. He wanted to donate a lifetime of tools that he had built up from all the various jobs he had had, working in the field, working as a contractor, and he wanted to go to any Portland student that might need that. Evidently, it's tens of thousands of dollars of tools that he has. I thought that was fantastic. He wants it to be passed on. He's already given a number of things away that he has related to another contracting business, but great conversation. I want to call out Mark Fields for being willing to do that. So he wanted to donate to Board of Ed. If they had any programs that could use that, if not any students from Portland that are traveling to other vocational schools in the area, he's going to be donating that. So we will arrange to pick them up from his storage unit, bring them back, clean them up, and whatever we need to check them, but they'll be available to that. So that kind of give back just fills my heart, and that kind of thing is really appreciated. So Mark, we appreciate that if you're watching, and if anyone else has things they want to donate to kids or to a good cause, reach out. All right. Public comment? Anything online? Okay. All right. Next one, our monthly budget meeting. Tom has produced a rundown of our budget up until now for everyone to review. One of the things that we've asked for in the past is to get the numbers ahead of time so we can build up some questions. We're going to start that as of this meeting. So this is a rundown for today. Some of it modifies and changes, but look at this, review it. As you have questions, reach out either to me or to Tom, but probably start with me first. And what I'll do is I'll get those answers for you. And then Tom will be back on the 18th for a review of the year and go into more detail if you have specific questions about this. But I thought it was important that we get this and have some time to digest it. That was good advice from many, so,
Is this usually the format that we get it in?
yes.
Yes.
Does he provide an executive summary of things that we should be looking at?
He does not, but that's a great point. He normally does a review of the items that jump out. But I think it would be good for all of us to look at that and digest it.
You know what I mean?
and see
Because I know
jumps out to you.
he has to have in his head things that are good and things that are like, watch out for.
Oh, he
It'd be
does.
nice to-
He 100%.
He'll go through a page
Well,
by
that's
page.
what he
and
does
look at this,
verbally
look
here
at
at
this.
the meeting.
Okay.
Yeah, he'll run down and he'll bring your attention to, the one thing that Tom sometimes does do is tell you what page he's on, so we often have to say.
And normally on the budget that he presents to Mike and ultimately gets approved, there are notes.
Okay.
So it's more detailed. I brought the budget that we approved last year. That time is coming up again. Vin, I'll get that to you so you can digest it, so I know you like numbers.
Online,
Yeah, it's online as well.
And I have it as well, where we got the pack.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So
yes.
it is, something worth looking at. We're very careful when we do the budget. Every dollar makes a difference. We do a lot of fighting and yelling that ultimately comes to a budget that makes sense. But as we go through the year, looking at the numbers month to month, I think is real important. So the more attention we can pay, the better off. So review this, digest it, and
Comment?
yes.
I know we've talked, every budget session over the years, we've talked about this where the numbers are given to us and, you know, we're looking at them for the first time and everything's already been
Right.
negotiated and figured out. And I believe last year we asked if there's a way that the board could somehow be involved ahead of time in
Right.
some of those discussions.
It is funny you say that. So, one of the issues I think I've seen in us that we that have been here for a while, the capital improvements plan that we often get and how we're gonna, what we're gonna do as priorities often comes at the end of the budget cycle. So I'm trying to get everything done sooner this year. Bobby and I had already talked about union contracts and reviewing those sooner than later. Same thing with the budget. So I am gonna make sure that we are looking at this sooner than later. We can look at the numbers more deeply and have a bigger impact on what makes the most sense. So I
Right.
promise all of you, as well as whoever's watching, we want to get this started sooner. So
Good.
that's a great point, though.
Yeah, appreciate it.
No, anytime. It's good advice. So,
I just have a question as well. This acronym, MTD, I know what,
what to date?
month to date.
Yes.
Is that what that is?
Yeah,
Month
month to date,
and Y
year
is
to date.
year
Year
to
to
date.
date.
Okay, month to date, year to date.
Yes.
Okay,
And then present, what I'll do is after the meeting, I'll go over with you some of this stuff, just so you know what you're reading and how you're reading it.
Mhm.
Excellent. And it breaks down all the budget items throughout the town.
Mhm.
So it's comprehensive and it's worth reading.
no, I've been to
Yeah.
budget discussions in
Yeah.
the past, but I wasn't sure what MTD was. Month makes sense. Thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome. Very welcome. All right,
7A.
you got it. 7A. All right. So I have a couple pictures of, again, some monuments for other types of things, but I've been to the 250 committee meeting. They're still working on the design and what they're gonna do, but they want to put a big granite monument behind the town hall, near the back entrance. I think it's a great idea. They're pricing it out right now. They feel and they're probably 100% right that we should not only discuss that, but also approve that because it is on town property and it's right there where everyone comes in. I think it's a really good idea and I'm looking forward to seeing the design, but I want to kind of bounce it around and see what everyone else thinks about that.
Sure, you're looking to, for concurrence tonight with the location and then we'll review a final
I think,
design at that
what
point? or
I'll
how-
request
what's
is
the-
they'll probably come up with the design that they feel best about and I'll ask them to present it to us for review. I think they'll want to do that anyways. So yes, absolutely.
Yeah, because I think the size is gonna depend on,
Yeah.
you know, the placement also.
Yeah. At least granite's not cheap.
The granite is not cheap.
Yeah, so.
Granite is not cheap.
Now, when I read the letter that you provided,
Mhm.
I envisioned they're talking about putting it on the side of the sidewalk closest to the town hall.
So as you're walking the back entrance.
Yeah.
Into, it's on the left side, that little small hill, right before you walk in. So if I'm walking into the back door, it's on the left side.
Right,
Got it.
adjacent to the shed where the
Generator.
generator
Yes,
is.
yeah, in
Okay.
between the shed and the front, yeah.
Okay.
So it's a space they thought made the most sense. They didn't want to go in the memorial.
Yeah, you don't want to impede on that.
100%. And they looked at that. There's enough space to do that. And I think, yeah, I think it's a good location.
Yeah.
Enough traffic, so. Any other comments? Any other feedback? All right. Someone want to make a motion that we will allow them to put a monument there.
I'll make that motion.
Okay,
And I'll second it.
all right, any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Hi,
Opposed?
Dave.
I
Dave.
made the motion.
Jim second.
Jim seconded. And opposed, abstention, motion passes. All right, 253 is gonna be very happy about that. Excellent. Next item, non-union pay. Everyone should have a resolution. We do this every year. We have to adjust the pay for various reasons. The enclosed plan includes very few changes, but the state minimum wage has gone up. So there'll be a couple highlighted areas where the rate that we pay needs to go up as well. So election workers were at 16.35 before, it's now up to 16.94. So we're making bank. So review that if you can. If anyone has any questions.
Did you leave that with us? Oh, it's attached.
Super.
Okay.
You looking for a motion?
Just want to make sure everyone's read it. All right, so we want to make a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion. I'm looking particularly at all the positions, but if fire inspector jumps out of me and all the election workers and everything they're doing, I mean, they earn their pay plus, so I gladly make a motion.
Actually, who's gonna read the resolution?
You want the whole thing read here?
Yeah, well, why not? Not, just the front page.
Okay.
There is no.
There is no
There's no
page.
I
resolution.
know.
All I have is the
Stay,
contract
Google
extension.
Doc.
Please make a motion that we accept the new pay plan.
All right,
I'll make a motion that we accept the new pay plan as written.
yeah,
I second it.
all right. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion passes.
While we have this in front of us,
Right.
how are we for our building official? Have we had any interest in that?
Yes, we do. We have two officials right now that are in the running. One from New Britain, who I spoke to earlier today. I'll be following up with him tomorrow. That's a candidate that we're interested in the most. There's another gentleman that's doing work with us right now that also is interested. So we'll have a discussion tomorrow. I should have good news for you guys by tomorrow or Friday. But yes, we have someone that's there.
Okay.
So,
Just clarification and curiosity. I know that I've had a number of people ask me, included in that position is not just the inspector, but also the blight
yes,
officer.
the blight
correct?
officer. Yes, that's
Okay.
correct.
Yeah.
That's correct. All right. Do we have Charles on the phone? On Zoom right now? Fantastic. All right. So we're gonna be talking about the bus waiver resolution. So Charles, it is all yours. If you walk everyone through, we should have both contracts as well as the resolution. So,
Terrific. Thanks. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yep.
Yes.
yes, we can.
All right. Thank you for letting me join you from home. I promise I'm going to bed right after this. It's been two very early mornings trying to divine the weather. But I do got to start with just a shout out to the town crews and the school crews. They were out there earlier salting. Everything looked great because of all the work they did getting the schools ready to open and the roads safe this morning. We were able to get in on time without a delay. I know how hard they work, and I just had to take a minute to thank them for being out there, getting that salt down and making sure we didn't have any delays or closures as a function of their good work. So thank you to all of them. They do amazing work. All right, so I'm here to talk to you tonight. I have an ask for you, a request that you approve a bid waiver for us to enter into a new contract with our bus vendor. Now, I want to unpack this a little bit with you because there are some short-term and long-term implications of this that will involve you likely in the future if we're not able to get some legislations adjusted. So if you would, I gave you two tentative agreements. One is called tentative agreement with rent, and one is called tentative agreement without rent. If you take a look at the one that's with rent, I'll walk through that one. They're both the same, just one difference here. Now, first thing I want to sort of start by saying, why not go out to bid? Why does it make sense to enter into a new agreement with our current vendor and not go out to bid? The answer to that question really comes down to it's less expensive, right? And we know that because the attorneys that guide us with this have lots of experience with bus costs across the state, and that while we're not getting that sweetheart deal, it's a good deal that we're getting with M&J. M&J has been our vendor now since I've been here, and they do great work for us. You know, they're very responsive. Transportation is always very complicated and never perfect, but they always answer the phone when I call, and they're very much very helpful in troubleshooting when we need them. Also, if you cast your mind back a few months, you probably are remembering some reports, some news reports of potential strikes amongst bus companies. In Cromwell almost got hamstrung this year with a bus strike, and Middletown would have been affected, and Coventry at one time had an issue with their bus company. And look, I don't want to do business with that kind of vendor, right? I want to do business with people I trust, people that do a good job for us, people that are going to give us a fair and very good price. And I'm happy to say that I believe that that's what we're going to get from M&J. So that's really the basis of my request for a bid waiver. That said, I want to spend a little bit of time with you going through this tentative agreement we've reached with them, because there are two things that I need to call your attention to that are going to affect us longer term. One for the good, potentially, and then one, we're going to need to hope for some relief from a state mandate that will be here way too quick in terms of what we need to do. So on the first page there, I just give you a little introduction, and then I give you start with the term. So originally we were thinking of a 3-year agreement, but we decided that we would extend it out to a 5-year. We began these negotiations back in the summer. We worked all summer with the board personnel committee, myself, board attorney, and then representatives from M&J. We had some discussion about whether we should do a 3 or a 5-year term. We finally settled on a 5-year term because we worked out some of the other issues that we needed to work out. Before we talk about the daily rates, I want to save that for last, right? Because I think if I work through the other issues and then finish with what the rate adjustments and increases will be, they'll make more sense to you. So the very next section after the daily rates, I'm really excited about this. At our last contract, we were able to get M&J to put in cameras in all of the buses, which is very helpful in terms of managing student conduct on the buses. Now, in this contract, we're going to be able to have them put GPS units on every bus. What that is going to enable all of our parents to do is have an app where they're able to track the buses as they move around town. So literally, they'll know in real time where the buses are and when to send the kids out to the stop. Or if a bus is delayed, they'll know where the bus is and what time it's going to drop their kids off. So I'm really excited about that piece of technology. They have that in East Hampton, and East Hampton parents rave about it. Some of our teachers are East Hampton parents, and they're often saying, it's very nice to know when we have to send our kids out to the bus so they're not standing in the rain or the cold for any longer than they need to, because we know right where the bus is in real time. So M&J, as part of this agreement, has agreed to install GPS trackers on all of their buses. Operational adjustment. And let me pause there and just tell me to stop talking if anybody has any questions. Otherwise, there may be questions at the end. Operational adjustment. So this is an exciting opportunity for all of us. Over the coming months, you're going to be hearing a lot more about our proposed plans to address the infrastructure needs in the schools. That plan does have us on a pathway to consolidate from 3 elementary schools to 2 and to move the 6th grade to the middle school. If we do that, we can take one large bus, a type 1 bus, those are the big ones you see on the road, out of service, right? So we currently run 9 bus runs. By moving the 6th grade in particular to the middle school, we'll be able to reduce to 8 runs, which in general, it costs about $68,000 a year to run a large bus for morning and afternoon pickups. So we'll be able to reduce our operating costs if we consolidate to 3 schools. And again, over the coming months, I'm going to be talking to you about the other savings that are inherent within a consolidation of schools. So as part of this new agreement with M&J, they did the run sheets, and they've committed that if we consolidate schools and move the 6th grade up, they've agreed to reduce the number of large buses on the road from 9 to 8, and that will save us some money. Okay, the next one, bus yard. This is really where I wanted to spend some time with you. talking about the bus yard and the next section, which is electric bus compliance. It's a little complicated, so bear with me. Currently, M&J Bus rents from a private landowner property off of Cobalt Road that they use as the bus yard. Their rent is approximately $2,000 a month. In the summer, we were talking about potentially providing them a parcel of land in town for use as a rent-free bus yard. If we had been able, which it didn't work out, and that's fine, to secure that parcel of land in town as a bus yard for them, they would have passed that savings along to us because they no longer would have been having to pay $2,000 a month in rent. So if we could have found them a parcel of town-owned land for use as a bus yard, that would have saved us $24,000 a year. And of course, they would have been able to use that parcel rent-free. Our attorney says that's a really good idea, and you have to be thinking about that looking ahead. Right now, a state law says that by the year 2030, all buses in Portland, because we're in a certain economic zone that it makes this a mandate for us, because we're in that economic zone, by 2030, all of our buses, if they don't change the law, will have to be electric. Now, I promise you, I and every other superintendent and board of education are making our legislators aware of this unfunded mandate because it would be insanely expensive. New electric buses range somewhere around $500,000 to $600,000. You know, if M&J had to buy all electric buses, or any vendor had to provide all electric buses to service Portland, holy cow, that is frightening in terms of the cost implications of that. Not only in terms of the cost of purchasing or leasing electric buses, but also the infrastructure you need to charge the buses, right? Now, the difficulty will be if this mandate doesn't change and by 2030 we have to figure out a way to purchase electric buses and charge them, it's likely that the property owner on Cobalt Road isn't going to want to have electric bus charging stations installed on his or her property, right? That makes sense because, you know, if I'm a landlord, I might want the flexibility to do other things with my property. And if I had it outfitted with charging stations to accommodate electric buses, that's not something you can just take in and out easily. It also needs to be accessible to the electric grid to charge, to create that infrastructure. So if we don't get out of this mandate and we have to figure out how to either pay for or lease electric buses, then our attorney is saying to us, the town really needs to find town-owned land to install the charging stations for the buses. So this round of negotiations was very much focused on the bus yard and this electrification mandate. If I read the tea leaves, I believe because we would all be in a real pickle, 2030 is not that far away, I believe we're going to get some relief from this mandate. It's still the law, but you know, we need to lobby for our legislators to change this. So I think we're going to, you know, get a waiver or be pushed off, though we haven't gotten it yet. But someday down the road, this is going to come back, right? I do think we have to start looking ahead and finding a town-owned piece of land for use as a bus yard. Both in the short term, it makes sense because M&J will pass those savings along to us if they aren't paying rent to a private property owner, but also because if we have a town-owned parcel of land for use as a bus yard, that would be a good place to install the charging stations to charge the electric buses. That was a lot. Let me stop there and see if there are any questions about that challenge that we're facing.
I just have one question in general, Dr. Britton, about electric buses. Are there any bus companies out there, M&J included, that are making any thought towards transitioning any part of their fleet because this could happen? Or are they just hoping that it all goes away and nobody's even talking about it?
So right now, we're all, look, I can just say a little bit terrified, right? That they're not going to change this law. I don't know how Portland and other towns will be able to afford the electric buses, finding the property and installing the infrastructure, both the costs and the logistics of it, right? But as of yet, this mandate hasn't been amended from state law. So, these buses are hugely expensive, and I don't know what we're going to do. Just that, we have 5 years to continue to, petition our legislators in Hartford to either provide us a waiver process or give us more time to get our act together.
So no company though on their own is thinking, well, we'll transition one, but like starting to transition at all on their own. Just for other reasons, maybe because it, eventually would be mandated or because vehicles are going that route. But I guess I'm hearing no.
I don't know what First Student or DACO or
Right.
any of the other vendors are doing.
Yeah,
I know from my conversations with M&J that as part of this contract, M&J hasn't factored in the costs of if they're going to, put in 1 or 2 or 3
Right.
over time electric buses.
right. Okay,
Which is why all of that language under the electric bus compliance you see there is
Mhm.
important, right? That whole part under electric bus compliance with all that legal language right there came from Shipman and Goodwin and our attorney. And that's what they're recommending that all districts put in their contract so that if the deadline isn't extended, or maybe if it's only extended by a year or 2, we are empowered through this contract to go back into negotiations to figure out how to make it work.
well, states did back off vehicles meeting this by a certain time, right?
Yeah. Look, any state legislators or the governor hearing this or watching this, if anybody's out there, I promise you that if they don't extend that deadline, Portland is in real big trouble, but we're not alone. There
Right,
a lot of towns simply, we would not be able to afford at $500,000-$600,000 a pop 6 giant buses plus 1 or 2 in reserve because sometimes they break.
right.
The costs of that would oh my gosh. I mean, I haven't done the math, but back of the napkin tells me 600,000 times, potentially 7, 8. How do you pay for that? How do you even begin considering financing that? I don't know what the lease costs would be or how we would do it, but we certainly wouldn't be able to buy it all at once.
So this is really only impacting the last year of the proposal that we're looking at in front of us, right?
Correct.
Last year, yeah,
The last,
year and a half.
year and a half.
Correct. Yeah. And that's why that language is there to give us the flexibility that, again, if this mandate isn't adjusted, we're going to have to start figuring it out. Now, I'm an optimist by nature. I believe because I've, had conversations with my superintendent's lobbying groups. I know Mike was just at CCM yesterday, and this was a big topic of discussion. I believe our legislators are going to hear us, and they need to do the right thing. We are not going to be ready by 2030, either fiscally.
So there's really nothing for us to, other than be mindful of it, right? And start looking for available potential land,
Correct.
right? That's really at the end of the day, that's really what it's a FYI, and do we have available land?
Right.
That's it.
That's it.
I would
That's
say also
Okay.
beyond the land, because we've had Andy Bauer give a presentation on a couple different occasions to this board about putting in charging stations. As I recall, there are 3 different levels of charging stations.
Yeah.
And it sounds to me like charging a school bus
Requires the highest.
is going to require the highest one. And I recall that being an astronomical number just for one station.
Well, and not only that, though, Eversource has to put the infrastructure in.
That's it.
Right.
We don't have, we have a 1 megawatt solar system that we, for the old landfill that we have to wait until end of this coming year
Yeah.
for Eversource to get their wires all connected and upgrade the system. So Yeah, so there's a lot of work that's got to get done to make, even get that to happen.
Mhm.
A lot of, there are two things I want to, put on your radar. One is that electric bus mandate that we're working under. Two is, if any of you are aware of, or it comes across as there is an available piece of town-owned land that we could provide M&J rent-free as a bus yard, that will save us $2,000 a month. Right? So M&J, if there's anywhere where they can park their buses and have a trailer for an office to use as a bus yard, they in this negotiation they've agreed to pass those savings along to us. So then just finally the last two things that we ended up negotiating with them. They are going to put in these performance requirements. So if at any time they aren't able to service our needs, we can essentially fine them. That's kind of how that works. Hold them accountable fiscally if they're not dropping our kids off on time, or they're missing runs. And I will say this hasn't been an issue for the past 2 years, but this was a major issue in the reopening years after the COVID, when they didn't have bus drivers. We were combining bus routes all the time because we didn't have drivers. Of late, though, the labor market has gotten a lot better, and M&J has done a far better job. But still, I did ask them, and they agreed to put that performance requirement there, which if they had a shortage of drivers or weren't able to meet the outline of this contract, we can hold them accountable fiscally. I think that's fair. It's an accountability measure. And then, of course, we did include in here, we spoke with Kerma, our insurance vendor. Our insurance company gave us those minimum requirements that they'd like to see M&J carry for any number of different things if there's ever a liability. Some of the increases for things like, if God forbid there was ever a inappropriate contact or something, that all of the minimums are there that would hold the board and the town harmless if a lawsuit ever came forward because of negligence or accident from the bus. So we would be indemnified and held harmless up to those dollar amounts. And we got those from our town's insurance vendor. And thank you, Tom, for helping me get those. But M&J has agreed to carry that level of coverage. So now, if you would, after all that, if you go back to the daily rates, here was I just want to kind of walk you through the logic in terms of how we came to this. Now, I do have to remind you that since we last negotiated this contract, think back 5 years ago, a lot has happened in the past 5 years in terms of costs, right? The costs for labor, costs for everything have gone way up, right? And M&J is aware of those costs, both from labor and the cost of diesel and upkeep, and it just doesn't cost the same now for labor. And think about what it used to cost 5 years ago to get your car fixed and what it is to maintain your car 5 years ago versus now. M&J has seen the same increases that we all have. So in year one, if we had provided them a town-owned parcel of land, they had agreed to a 3.62% increase, right? Now, I also had negotiated that, instead of providing you a town-owned parcel of land, maybe we'll pay the rent for you. Now, Tom didn't like that. Tom didn't want to set that precedent for the town, that the town pays people's rent. So we then have to help carry the cost of that, and that increased that 3.62 up to, if you look at the documents that's called without rent, increased that by $12.50 a day to reflect a 7.02% increase. So again, if we had a town-owned parcel of land that we could provide rent-free, we would be looking at a 3.62% increase. We could strip out that $2,000 and pay their rent for them, which would be a 3.62. If we don't have a town-owned land and we're not comfortable paying their rent, then we have to increase our daily runs by $12.50 a day to $393 a day at 7% increase, which is, larger, right?
Dr. Britton? Can I
Yep,
just ask a question?
sure.
We can reduce the cost if we can provide a town-owned piece of land.
Correct.
Are there any requirements that come with that piece of property? In other words, do they need it gravel? Do they need it paved? Do they need it fenced? All of which would be an additional cost to us, I would assume.
Yeah, so I mean, if you look at their bus yard now, it's not fenced, right? And it is kind of like a dirt lot. It's big enough for they have 9 large buses plus smaller buses and vans, right?
Mhm.
Ideally, whether it was something that would need to be fenced, I think would be a function of where, right? Now, because yes, I mean, we don't want people vandalizing the buses. Would it be great if it was a well-lit fenced area that was accessible to the schools? Yes, that would be great. But there are no requirements that the area be fenced, although that would be preferable from a security perspective. It's really about the size of the parcel. Has to be big enough to park. Buses aren't small, right? Get the buses in, back them in, park them, and then pull them out. In terms of other infrastructure, really they need like you imagine like a trailer is what they would have for like a bus office, and then if it had water and a bathroom, great. If not, there are porta potties and things we could use.
Okay. Now, I wanted to make sure in my mind that there wasn't a hidden cost we weren't seeing in this discussion.
No.
Thank you.
So then in year 2, as we looked at the percent increases, we had decided to make the largest percent increase in year 2. Again, it made sense because, fingers crossed, things go well this spring with a referendum on a consolidation. If we're on a path to a consolidation, in that second year of the contract, that's the year that we would be able to pull out a lot of the overhead savings by taking one school offline, including one bus, right? So in year 2, as the board was negotiating, our logic was, let's put the largest percent increase in that year, because overall the actual cost is going to be offset because we're going to save $69,000 or $70,000. I have to do the math in my head that year because we're reducing from 9 large buses to 8. And then from there, if you follow it out for the next 3 years of the contract, you see the 4, 3.9 and 3.9. And then the other costs reflected there are the costs for type 2 vehicles, which are essentially the minibuses, and then the cost for the vans, and then the hourly costs for transporting our kids for our athletic teams, field trips, and other events that M&J provides transportation with our students. Now, that said, our attorney, Christopher Tracy, who works for Shipman and Goodwin and negotiates lots of contracts with lots of different vendors, including M&J, he has looked at these numbers and he said they are consistent with or below market rate. So if we were to go out to bid, we're pretty confident that we would be paying more than this tentative agreement that we've reached between the board and M&J.
Dr. Britton, what's our current contract? What's the total?
I don't have that in front of me. I'm sorry. I wish Stephanie was here. This is usually when I go, Stephanie, help me out. Are you talking about the total cost that we pay?
Yeah.
Shoot. I didn't come to class prepared. I don't have that for you. I could certainly email it to you tomorrow.
That actually was gonna be, I think I had a very similar question.
Do you
It
know
was
what
gonna
our
be,
total
how much is it
contract
gonna
would
go
be
up?
for either of any of these years?
What's that?
What our total contract would be for any of these years, like year 1?
Yeah, that was gonna be mine. Do we know what the actual, the dollar increase per year is gonna be? with how these rates go, right? We can see just the components, but we don't know how that's actually gonna impact the school budget year over year.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I don't have those figures in front of me. I'm not in the office. I wish Stephanie had been there. She would tell you. But you know, it's you take our basically if this is agreed to and we don't strip out the bus yard and we do the 7% increase, it's going to be at minimum the 7% year over year increase. So we would take, if it's 2 million or whatever, what the number that we're paying now, it will be 7% more.
So why did they request their rent being paid this year when they've paid it every year in the past?
So M&J, during the contract negotiations, their attitude was, if we're provided a town-owned parcel of land, we'll pass the savings along to you, right? And in the summertime, there was hope that we had identified a parcel of land in town that we would work. And as we went through the summer and continued negotiating, it was determined, unfortunately, that that spot that we were looking at wasn't available for other reasons. At that time, then I said, okay, well, we'll pay your rent for you. How about if instead of passing the cost for your rent along to us in the daily rate, we just give you a check for $2,000 a month to pay your rent, right? And M&J said that would work for us. I mean, it's just money, whether it's coming to us in the form of what we bill you for the daily rates.
No, I understand that, but they've paid it themselves every year before this.
Correct.
So why would we be required to pay it now? It should just come out of their contract.
Yeah, I mean, look, they had factored that their overhead, all of their overhead costs, in the prices that they gave us in the last contract too, right?
Yeah.
They identified that as, hey, if you want to save money, a bus yard might be a place that if we don't have to pay it, it's not coming out of our pocket because we have a free place to park our buses and run them out of, then we'll pass that savings along to you. And as we were going back, lots of discussions were had about how they could pass that savings along to us. And if they were unable to pass those savings along to us because we couldn't find a bus yard, how we would either incorporate those costs into the daily run costs or a separate check for rent.
The other thing I don't like is the biggest increase being in year two, because having that biggest increase in year two just means you pay it in year 3, 4, and 5.
Yeah, we compound that the larger increase goes up.
Yeah.
It's compounded.
That's
Every-
the biggest increase it benefits us the later year it's in.
You're right, and also I thought you're absolutely right to point that out. Part of the value of paying the rent and not including it in the daily run is that differential of $12.50 a run for rent also compounds with the interest. But again, my conversation with Tom was he preferred that we include it in the daily run cost and not as a separate cost because he's worried about other contracts that might influence with the town if the word gets out that, hey, Portland will pay your rent.
Another question I have is on the performance requirements.
Yep.
Why would we only get credited $100 for a missed run if a bus costs us $380?
Why would we? So you're saying the daily run is $380, right? And
Yep. If they miss a run, we only get credited $100.
Okay, we are always going to get our kids to school, right?
No, I understand that, but if they're not performing it, then we should get 380 back, not 100.
It's a good point. What they'll say is that, all right, so what happens is if let's just say we have bus route 1 and bus route 2 running.
Mm-hmm.
You're right. If they can't run bus route 2 because the driver's sick, mostly this happens regularly, and they can't get a sub because the sub's sick, right? and they're not running bus route 2, right? They're still paying the driver, they're still carrying some overhead, but what they do then is they combine bus route 2 kids on bus route 1, bus route 3, and bus route 4, right? It's at that time that I would say to them, well, you didn't run bus route 1 today, I'm taxing you $100, right? To your point, hey, why wouldn't we tax them all 380? Well, they're going to say, hey, but we still got your kids to school. We just did it on buses that were a little bit more crowded and took a little longer to get the kids to school. And we also are still, paying for our drivers, even though they're, I don't know what they're exactly, if they're, how many sick days they get, and, still paying for all of their overhead. So it's not an exact dollar to dollar. Hey, you didn't run that bus run, we should be able to fine you $380. They're still getting our kids to school. They're just doing it in a less convenient way.
Well, I think that should be at least a little more, even if it was 200. The next one is the one that kind of terrifies me, is unqualified drivers.
Where are you seeing
How
that?
can you be an unqualified bus driver?
Performance
we don't
requirements
have
do
them.
it too.
We would fine them $250 a day for unqualified drivers driving buses.
I got you. That's a good point. I would certainly agree with you. That would terrify me if I ever found out we had unqualified drivers. I don't think that's ever been an issue. By the way, the performance requirements here were something, frankly, that was provided to us as pretty standard language used in other contracts by Shipman and Goodwin. I think they might have the attorneys will often come to us, and they did with the personnel committee, and say, hey, here are things that you might want to negotiate into the contract that aren't there now, that we see in other districts used across the state. That's ultimately the value of having an attorney like Shipman and Goodwin, or Christopher Tracy from Shipman and Goodwin, because they have that broader perspective of all contracts, including ours. But do I think we have any drivers that aren't licensed or unqualified? No. Do I agree with you that if we did 250, it would be the least of their concerns in terms of our displeasure? I agree.
Yeah, as far as qualified drivers, usually you have to have a CDL, but there are also endorsements. To drive a bus, you have to have a livery.
I was gonna say, there's only one license for a bus, and that's a bus driver.
Yeah, and they
There's
have
no
to pass
single
drug
driver
tests.
Yeah, no,
But it just jumps out at me that that's even listed.
yeah.
Well, the definition of unqualified, you could say they don't even know how to drive I mean. what
They just
does
have a regular
unqualified
driver's
mean? Not
license.
just, I don't
Well,
have a
yeah, or
license.
CDL.
You're not even trained.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So I know, John, you had asked this, but it was, do you have a feel for what the total spend is, so we can wrap our head around it? Is this $1.5 million a year?
Actually,
I'm gonna
Vinny,
email
that's a
all-
great,
I
I'm
mean,
just gonna ask that question.
Sure.
Dr. Britton, tell me if this sounds right. I just went online and I pulled up the Portland, Connecticut budget, and under transportation, it shows it at 1.508 million. Is that for the 25? Does that sound about right?
Again, it sounds about right, but I'm not sure if what you're looking at, because I don't have it in front of me. I'm on my home. I don't have a VPN. I can't get into Enterprise and look. That I don't know if that includes our special education runs, some of which we use other contractors besides M&J. We use Ambassador and a few others, for handicap accessible vans and things.
That was the question. I didn't know if that was all of it or, okay.
Right. And
So my 1.5 million, honestly, it just came from the days in the year times the dollars, and I just wung it.
Yeah, that
To get us
that's
close.
about where I was.
Yeah.
And then, because if we look at then putting 7% on, that gives us an idea.
Yeah, I said
of what
5
we-
days,
yeah,
40 weeks in a year.
that's right. Back of the napkin math, what you're doing is right. Just
There you go.
take the 7, back out 7%, find our current daily rate, multiply that by 181, multiply that by 9. That's the amount, right? I want to give you the exact amount, because I can give you not only the cost for the type 1 buses, but what we're paying for sports and other things. And of course, don't forget, some of those things change every year because, not like, for example, when we budget for our teams, we budget as if every team is going to make it to the state finals, whereas some of our teams don't. I'm sorry, my dog is barking crazy. So some of those numbers change, right? And then of course I also want to say I'm very excited to say that the vans you purchased us out of capital last year, and then the investments we made in the vans and paying our own drivers has saved us a ton in transportation over the past couple of years. So tomorrow, what I'll do when I get in, and I apologize for not having it now. I don't have a VPN. I can't get into the financial system. I'll email it all to you tomorrow, so you'll see it, and then of course you'll see it again when I present my budget to you in about 2 months' time.
Wow.
So I was also, I just kind of had wrote down here and, Bobby just kind of mentioned to me, I said, geez, I was really surprised I didn't see anything about a fuel surcharge, and I guess that's because we pay for the fuel.
Correct.
Okay, for the record, right?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
And by the way, the other thing that you're not seeing here is you're just seeing the tentative agreement. The entire contract is probably 40, 50 pages long. I mean, it's a long, detailed contract. These are just, and you'll notice at the end of the tentative agreement, it says, we've agreed that all other contract language remains the same, including things like the fuel, right? That's, longstanding practice, even goes back to the vendor you had before M&J's. If you'd like, I can get you a copy of the whole contract. It's also on the website. It's just, I didn't bring you the entire 50 pages of contract. I just brought you those things that reflect changes in that current contract.
I think this is good, just having the abbreviated in the main topics of what we're discussing.
Right. I thought that would be helpful too. Otherwise, you don't want to have to pour through all the pages.
No. So Dr. Britton, is this time sensitive? Because we'll discuss it some more today, but
yeah, excellent question. It's not. If you'd like to wait, and I can come back to your next meeting, and I'll email you all of that information tomorrow in terms of the financial side of it. It's not. We're good with our current bus contract until June 30th this year. If you decide to say no, Charles, we don't like this tentative agreement, go out to bid, and take the gamble on that. I do have to write the bid, post it, and we'll want to get that out very quickly so that we can open the bids and choose the vendor. I definitely don't recommend that, but that's something we could do within this time frame. It would also impact our ability to wrap up our budget this year. Stephanie and I are starting building our budget, and we're building it based on this agreement. But does it have to be approved tonight? No. I can email you the financials, show you what this agreement would look like in terms of the percent increase next year in real dollars and percent. And then if you brought it back on the next agenda and approved the bid waiver, then we would be okay. And if you didn't approve the bid waiver, then we would still have time to go out to bid before we have to start running buses next September.
so I guess let's get a feel around the room. I'll give you a quick heads up on how I feel. I don't have a problem personally doing the bid waiver, given the feedback from the attorneys and given the feedback with the relationship that they have right now. But I think I do want to know more detailed information about the total costs and its impact on the budget. So I'm comfortable putting this off until the next meeting, the 17th, once we have all that information down, because we had some good questions here today. It's not a small amount of dollars, but I do respect the attorney's opinion and the Board of Ed folks, because they live with this every day. So I'm okay with that. I haven't heard anything that would disqualify that, but how's everyone feel about that?
I agree with you. I think we've had a good relationship between the town and the bus company. But it's just some of these financials and percentages that I don't agree with. I'd like to get the total numbers and get a better understanding of it.
I agree.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat,
absolutely.
because when I just looking at it without actually looking at the compounding effect,
Yeah.
it's over 25%, right? Before you start looking at the compounding effect of year over year. And I was just crunching some of the numbers, which we won't go into, now, but Yeah, I think getting a better view of them would be a good idea.
Agree.
I want to add one more thing to what Dr. Britton said also. Him and I had spoken over the summertime about trying to find some property that the town could, again, set up for the next 5 years, because at the end of this contract, it may not go into effect, but the electrification issue was something that was a big concern. So we did check out several locations. We've had Andy and others look at where in the town we have, but we have very limited space downtown or in areas that would be convenient for them. But I think we should also, as a side note, take a look at the town. We're doing our POCD right now. We're looking at the downtown area. Maybe there is a parcel of property that, if it doesn't make this contract, maybe something that would be after that. So I think it's something we need to do.
I would just throw this out there. As Dr. Britton was talking, I was thinking about place to park them. And I don't know whether this would be a town decision or a Board of Education decision. But the property, the athletic field behind BIS, right down along the football field. If you were able to just park the vehicles there, just back them right into the football field and put a trailer on the end, you have access to electricity. You're right next to a school. You're off the main road. I don't know if those fields there, that section of the field is used regularly or not, but it's worth a thought.
Yeah, I
Well, you could also look at the two parking lots across from Brownstone Park.
Yes.
They're already paved
right.
and
Plus
they're brownfields.
The back part.
And actually,
Yeah.
that was the property that we actually spoke to,
Right.
one of those three proproperties.
I
But we
thought
have-
about that, but I thought long-term that may not
Well, we had issues with,
remain available.
well, and that was the complication with.
Yeah.
Well, not, it wouldn't be the big lot, it could be
Right.
the smaller lots.
Right.
True,
Right.
true.
So,
Because we don't get anything for it right now.
Right.
And it's already paved and it's already fenced in.
right. So,
We just have to run power to it eventually in the future to charge buses.
right,
Mhm.
so.
Yeah, and that's gonna be a significant, because they Eversource had to really bring significant grades to their grid to
Mhm.
power the spot.
Yeah.
I mean, the good thing though is Eversource right now is doing a ton of work in town to get the spa all electrified.
Yes.
Because they have a big demand, so that may actually benefit this. I mean, that might make it easier to take it one other step down.
Yeah.
Mm.
You know,
I'm assuming 483 phase.
Yeah.
Yeah, oh, yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
The last complication with this as well, with that location, is with everything going on with the spa in Brainerd and trying to do something with that brownfield. It's one of the things that we're looking at actively right now. So I think we have to add this. In fact, I don't know who's going to the meeting tomorrow night, the POCD meeting, 7 o'clock. I think you're going.
Mhm.
I'd
You're
like
going
to.
as well. So only 3 of us can go, otherwise it's a meeting. If it's 4, but they're discussing what's going on with the POCD and what's going on with that whole downtown area. So I think we need to add that to discussion and see how that fits in. So
Yeah, I think especially with that, there's a lot of parking. There's gonna be a lot of parking needs down there anyway.
partnership
especially,
is a big deal, yeah.
Charles, could you ask the bus company what is either their acreage or square footage they need, so we know what to look at and what not to look at, so we don't waste time? We
Yeah.
know about, everything else that would be required.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, I'll take care of all that and get you that information before the end of the week.
Thank you.
So by the way, thank you for coming. I know you don't feel that great, but thank you for hanging in there.
No, this is important. I mean, it's short term and long term. I know it's a lot of money too, of course. It's one of our biggest contracts. So I appreciate your time and listening, and want to make sure everybody's comfortable with decisions you make.
Right, have a hot tea, relax.
Yeah, thank you.
All
Thank
right.
you, Charles.
Thank
Take
you.
care, Dr. Britton. We
Feel-
appreciate it.
feel better,
Thank you.
Charles.
Thank you.
All right. That was helpful. I think that was really good. We did have a lot of discussion about what we could do down there, if that's a possibility. It just didn't kind of come together for a lot of unknowns, but definitely. So anyone that's interested in pursuing this, please give me a hand with this. The more eyes on it, the better. So. All right, next topic. Number 10, school renovation project. I've spoken to everyone individually about this. I know everyone has different concerns and feelings about it, but I wanted to kick off at least the general discussion about this. I don't think we need to go into specific details on everything about this, because everything's still being worked on right now. There's a lot of unknowns, but I think it's important to get a discussion, because right now this board approved the funding to get this whole question to referendum in May. May 11th is when the budget referendum is going out. That's the date that's on there. So we really have 6 months from now to put this together, and 6 months is going to go by in 2 weeks. So we need to start talking about it now. We're actively working on getting the numbers. I see Dave's here as well. And John, heads that committee that's been looking at this. So I'd like to start with John, maybe talking about a little bit about the update on where we are with the status of this. And then I'd love everyone, if you feel like it, to jump in and express your concerns, your opinions on this, what you think about it. And let's go around. I think it'd be worthwhile.
Yeah, the Board of Selectmen created this latest task force and they all nominated me to be the chair of it. So, I mean, essentially I'm facilitating the meetings, but we've had 2 meetings thus far. I did attend along with Mike Pelton, a conference call with Department of Administrative Services. There are, just to give you an idea, with the 2 schools they're talking about, Valley View and Gildersleeve, the number one question that was asked to DAS, and it turns out that the division of DAS that we were speaking to wasn't necessarily the division that could answer the financial questions. So Dr. Britton had to put it in writing, and it was recommended that he include and copy our state rep and our state senator, which he did, and it worked out well because Senator Needleman, within minutes of the email going out, made them aware he was on and wanted copies of it. So I think they'll help expedite the process. But the reason that we're asking those questions is with Valley View, for example, as a new school renovation, the general construction state reimbursement is 53.93%. There is potentially a bonus if preschool is involved. And even if there are a couple classrooms, which there are, that would be an additional 15% state reimbursement over the whole school, not just those classrooms. And there is an open choice participation bonus of an additional 5%. So the questions that we're trying to get cleared up first, because we want the public to know exactly what this is going to cost so they can make an educated decision. We want to confirm those. If all those are real, the total state reimbursement on Valley View School will be 73.93%. Gildersleeve School, the previous committee proposed Gildersleeve School because, as you recall, there was extra square footage, and under the new requirement per child square footage, we'd have to potentially knock some of that square footage off or keep it and take a hit. So what has also been asked as part of this task force is, we were approaching that in the original plan and still are as capital improvements. But the question was asked in the task force meeting, if the state reimbursement numbers are higher than originally expected there too, does it make sense for the town to do a renovate to new? Because will the additional money, state reimbursement that we receive, actually cover the cost and still save us money on keeping that square footage? And then when the architects explained, there actually isn't as much overage as we had originally anticipated, because believe it or not, some of the overage is the roof of the front waiting area, the front
Canopy.
porch, the canopy, which, because it's attached to the building, counts as square foot. So if that were just, apparently, if that were just
Detached.
detached from the building, it wouldn't count.
Yep.
So now there's this whole new question about Gildersleeve, which could potentially, again, get you a fully renovated building. It might actually be more savings than was originally discussed as capital. So what's happened in those first 2 meetings is essentially this discussion, the request to DAS to get these numbers and expedite these numbers. And at the last meeting, the task force agreed to let the architects begin doing some rough planning, so we have square footages and things of that nature. And as I continue to press this, and I'll say it till I'm blue in the face. What I want to see is to get these numbers as quickly as possible, and we kind of backed into it at the last meeting. What we're talking about in terms of time to get some public presentations, so we can actually have this information presented to the public and let them make an informed decision. And, I think we're talking about January-ish
that we would like to have those numbers begin doing something like that. And then go from there. That's kind of my quick update.
Yeah, I want to clarify, when we vote to send this, to referendum, do we need to do that 60 days before the referendum, or is it 30 in this case?
So our bond council said 30 to 60 days. I don't know specifically on this one, which one would it be?
All right, and the
He said
reason,
some
'cause-
towns have done it
Well,
sooner.
and correct me if I'm wrong, Mike, what he said was the reason we had to have it earlier
Right.
last time is because we tied it to a federal
Right,
election.
right.
And I
you have
think
to do it
because
long-
now it would not be associated with that federal election, I think it's 30 days, not 60.
Yes,
so that means we would have until April 11th, right? We'd have to, or wherever our meeting is,
Right.
right,
Right.
prior to that. So that gives us a good window of when we should actually look at scheduling out multiple sessions, like we did with the Route 17
Mhm.
sports, the recreational complex. We had, a few different meetings that were informational, and we get a lot of great feedback from the public. And I would think we'd want to do those earlier, because some of that feedback, we'd want to have time to incorporate it if there's some things that come out that can.
It would
that
be
can help.
nice to do earlier too, because that's right in the middle of budget season.
right.
Yeah, we don't want to,
Right.
right, March is going to be busy, and that's
Right.
going to be the focus, so.
Right. And
So if we
need
can, if we can get the numbers by January and plan some things for, February, end of January, February, that's a good,
I think that's exactly what the task force committee is talking about. And the thing that's really holding up the show right now is getting these reimbursement percentages, the
Right.
confirmation of
And,
it.
and also, I saw Downs Construction yesterday, and Friday, they were both at the CCM show, and asked them about it. So they're actively working on the numbers to provide back to us. They're guesstimating within 2 weeks to have specific numbers. So that's coming in, and I agree with both of you. I agree with all of you that we need to get the word out. But we also need to, as people have told me over the last couple of weeks, we're not trying to sell anybody on something. We're not trying to sell them a plan.
No, we're
People
doing
doing-
information.
right.
We're providing them with what each of us feel in whatever way makes the most sense for the town, if that's how you feel.
Well, that's what we're gonna get for a question is, okay, at that time, we're gonna know, this is what the school system will cost to renovate the new.
Right.
If we don't do it,
Right.
what are the town expenses gonna be,
Right.
and how is that gonna affect
Right.
us? What's the difference?
Because
Because they're gonna wanna know, are we going with the school plan A, or are we going with school plan B of just renovations?
And I said at the task force, I gave kudos to Kim Hanna the other night when she spoke here.
Mhm.
And she said, I don't want a glitzy presentation.
Yeah.
I want to hear from people that I trust and respect that just tell me what's what.
Yep.
And I think Bob Shea, for example, and Carl Johnson to a slightly lesser extent, just because Bob is more current on the buildings. When we were going through the explanation in the previous committee, those two guys, when we were going line by line, looking at capital improvements versus renovation, they were the ones that had a very clear picture of what it takes to keep our buildings going. And how often you got to do these. And those are the kind of people that I think our residents want to hear from.
Well, they see everything behind the walls and behind the paint
Right.
that we don't see. And they're the experts on saying, this is so close to end of life,
Mhm.
Yeah.
or when something was installed, or, the
Right.
condition of everything in every building.
Right.
Good.
So one of the things that I think was the most positive about the meeting with Ben and everyone else in terms of discussing line by line what the cost would be for capital is there were a number of people in town, I think, that really wanted to do capital, and I understand that because it seems like the simplest. You just budget something every year because we haven't done that for the last 20 years. And got frustrated by that in the beginning personally, but at the end of that, I thought it was a good process because I think it took that off the table for a lot of people. Because I looked at that and they said, we could fix this stuff, but you still have an old building that's going to need to be fixed up constantly, and the long-term cost was more, so.
Well, the construction cost year over year,
Right.
from 2024 to 2025 went up just shy of 5%.
Right.
And if you try to press that over, 8, 10, 12 years, whatever it takes, you're just essentially paying more every year chasing a problem around the building.
Right.
Yeah.
Whereas renovate to new does solve a lot of problems, and with the reimbursement rate
But-
that we're getting, also for me.
And I think, Bobby, you and I have talked about this. no matter which way the town decides to go, if we decide to do something like this, we still need to address the elephant in the room, which is setting aside dollars so that we can do
Well-
capital improvements down the road.
I met with Mike today, and that was my question, was we can only have one bond question on the referendum. But it doesn't say, hey, we can't have another question. The other question would be whether the school question passes or not. We've all agreed that we need to shutter a school because it's wasted space and we can't keep this many buildings. So the second question should be, should the town keep Brownstone or should they sell Brownstone? Because we're gonna get the truest number of people that come out to vote on it. And if the majority says keep it, okay, we keep it. If they say to sell it, then we look to move it. But, you know, you talk to one group of people and it's, oh, put it on the tax
Right.
rolls, get our money for it. Another group, it's too nice of a building to let it go out of town's hands.
But see,
And the
here's a-
town has to keep it.
This is a good example of educating
Yeah.
the residents and
Mhm.
having them completely understand this plan. Because if you ask them that second question about whether we keep it or get rid of it, but you don't explain to them that BIS works in this proposal because it acts as the swing school for roughly 5 to 6 years.
Yeah.
So if people
But when
read that
5,
question
6
as,
years
why
is
are we
up-
getting rid of the school tomorrow? If they don't understand that process
Yeah.
as a 6-year swing period, you know?
And that's if the school project gets approved. And we know it's a couple years to start construction on the other schools and everything's finished, and it's
Right.
5, 6 years down the road. We have an idea of what Biz needs now. What is Biz gonna need in 5 or 6 years? And is it worth keeping as a town building?
Right.
Or are we better selling it, getting the money and getting the tax dollars year after year of it being on the rolls?
Yeah, I think part of the discussion to that point is gonna be if, and I think that if we were gonna keep it as a town building,
Mhm.
right? And there's an argument for some of the things that we do, that there's some really good uses that we could use that facility for. But we need to, I think, be able to identify to residents, one, how would we generate some revenue from that building to offset the carrying costs? And we'd have to also talk about what the plan would be, how we would use it and what's the benefit. So it's not just a sell it or keep it, it's understanding what the impacts of both of
Well-
those decisions would be.
And that's what we need to put out with the information of the school plan.
Yeah.
If Brownstone is kept, this is what we would do with it. This
Yeah.
is our plan.
Yeah.
And this is what the cost would be.
Yeah.
If it was sold, we can't really say what we would get for it. We would just have an idea of what the tax revenue would be from it, because we have a value of it. But that's what people need to know, because a lot of people said that's what happened with the last referendum.
Yeah.
Was we couldn't tell them what was happening
Oh, yeah.
with the buildings, but we had no idea. Because until the town says this is what we're doing, or someone writes you a check to buy it, it's all theory.
That, and I think I think that was definitely one of the challenges. I think the other challenge on the other side is that there were some folks that were worried that if it was as a default, the building was gonna go away, how would that impact other things? Like, there was a lot of concerns, will we have enough gym space? How is it gonna impact some of our parks and rec programs, some of the other programs we do in school, things like, you know, with. some of
And
the
I'll
other
say
things.
that the previous committee that developed this latest proposal addressed all those things, including the gym space and everything in their plan. But what I would say about this, and I believe in that plan, it also recommended, they said, what is your recommendation for BIS? And I believe it was, short term using it as swing space, and then long term, the town determining whether they use it for municipal, a commercial / municipal, or full commercial. But the benefit that the town has going forward with that decision, and I kind of, I don't know, you want to ask the question just to get to test the waters with the public. But if it's roughly 5 to 6 years that's a swing school, by the time that school is done with this process and it becomes available, we may be talking about an entirely different area down there with the spa, The brownfields, if they're developed, if it impacts Main Street,
Yeah.
with Brainerd Place will be pretty much fully developed.
Yeah.
The complexion of Main Street may entirely change. And that might really, one way or the other, might really lean the town to go either direction with that building. Who knows?
Yeah, especially depending on I know we've talked about the need to put out, another RFP for down at the brownfields. We've talked about potentially some additional strategic moves we could look at down there. So all of that, yeah, it could be, we could have something that comes in with an RFP that actually changes, completely what the best use for that facility would be.
I think another obstacle we're gonna have is how long the project, if it's approved, how long the project is bonded for. The last one was 20 years and we ran into, it needed repairs before the school was paid off.
Mhm.
And they've been saying for this one that they're looking at 30 years to make it more affordable. So by the sounds of it, we're gonna have 10 years left to pay on the bond. And we're gonna start needing repairs and improvements in the school.
I know from my perspective, I would like to see the bonding both ways. I'd like to see
Mhm.
what we're looking at 20, and I don't care, I mean, it's just a number in terms of until we vote on what to send, but 20, 25, and let us see the options. Because I think the fact that we've got potentially some better reimbursements across the board may impact, we may not need to go with a 30-year bond.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it may be much more financially sound to go with a 20-year.
And I wouldn't want to try to even explain the way that we got the financial explanation in the
Right.
meeting that we attended.
Right.
But, there are there's a hell of a lot more that goes into deciding how you're gonna bond something in terms of duration
Mhm.
and a number of other things. There was some question in terms of payback. I mean, when debts become due, if the state reimbursement comes a little bit late and we're late in paying, you want to make sure that we still maintain the flexibility to be able to handle that debt. And as I remember, that was some of the explanation that we heard.
It was, and it's a little more complicated because there's a lot of moving parts and your bonds are kicking in at different times as you're doing it. And how you do it and changing and our existing bond that we did for the existing middle school, high school, they refinanced or redid 3 times over the
Yep.
years. So part of that's cash flow. The most encouraging thing about that meeting that we had 7 or 8 of us in there with Matt Ritter and Tom was in there and Tom was pleased. He was the one I was the most worried about because he's the most concerned about the money and he lives it every day. And he came away with almost all the answers that he needed and understood it. So I think Matt did a really good job of explaining it. I'll bring him back or I'll ask him back here as one of the speakers as we get closer, because I think he'll be really good to be able to explain how the bonding works. Because I think that question will be asked by a lot of people because I don't fully understand it. Right.
But whoever comes to present to us,
Right.
it's the town getting it to the residents.
Right.
Because
Right.
we can tell by our huge audience here tonight
Mhm.
that
Huge.
it's
Right.
Yeah.
our responsibility, because
Right.
most people are gonna look at it and be like, 30 years, no, I'm not voting for that.
Right.
Without the explanation of why. Because like I said, everyone got nervous with the last school project that 20 years was too long and we ran into problems the last few years before the bond was paid off. So we just have to explain to them
Mhm.
whatever we're doing, why it's better than 20 or 25 or whatever we go with.
And I think that'll be the benefit of having those meetings earlier, right, rather.
And what the next meeting of this task force, I believe is not going to be until after the first of the year.
Yes.
Because we need these answers from DAS, but more importantly, the architects have to finish their renderings.
Mhm.
But I'm just throwing this out as a suggestion. Mike, maybe we put this topic on the agenda for our next meeting on the 17th.
Absolutely.
And something you just said, Bobby, rung with me because I think we really need to work to try to come up with a recommended bullet list of topics that need to be part of that education session. And then we can take that to Dr. Britton and the others and try to make sure that it is the right information is provided in the right order.
Yep.
In a language that people can understand. And it's presented by the right people.
Yes.
And then when that is all said and done, we take that information that was provided, boil it down to its component parts and put it on paper and get that out to everybody.
Mhm.
But, you know, I think it'd be good for us to come up with those bullet points and try to start that
Right.
discussion now.
And I think Vin had said this a week or so ago. We have to do three things. We have to, number one, visualize what it's gonna look like, because we talk about renovate to new. So once we get the design or the design concepts from them, what it's gonna look like afterwards. You know, because it's gonna be renovate, there'll be buildings, there'll be school rooms added, different things, the gym will be expanded, there'll be a lot of new things. They need to understand what it's gonna look like. We also need to come down with the numbers. So at the end of the day, what's it gonna cost Robert Heftrick in taxes in a year? Is it $300? Is it $200? Whatever the number is, what's the mill rate? How does it work? And then we have to educate everyone on all the details of why it's important for the town. But to me, what's the number for you for taxes, for you, for me?
It
And
can be different for everybody.
right,
Yeah.
but what's it gonna be and what's that number? Because if they hear a big number, it's scary, but oh, it's gonna be $500,000 increase over the course of the next X amount of years, and that equals this much. They need to know that.
That's
I
the
think when
thing,
we
it's,
did the-
it's showing them the difference between a multi-million-dollar building budget
Mhm.
and it's your taxes $150 more a year for the next
Right.
20 years or
Right.
whatever it is. It's
Isn't it
breaking it
worth it?
down.
Right.
Because anyone's gonna see the price tag and be like, oh, this is ridiculous, the town can't afford it.
Right.
Yeah.
But they need to know what it's gonna cost each homeowner
Mhm.
this much money.
Well, the new boilers in BIS is a perfect example. Just one problem. And that cost us what, 600? What was it cost that? 600 grand or something like that? So if we went, and some people may still believe that capital improvements are the way to go. But if you're chasing capital improvements every year with the costs increasing every year, and instead of a one-time cost that you know you're getting a fair amount of reimbursement and you know what you're gonna be paying, for us to come back to town residents every couple of years asking for another big hit.
The problem also is we can have a plan for capital improvements.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean the capital improvements are gonna wait until their
Exactly.
time.
Right,
to
right.
fail.
Don't break down until 2 years.
You know,
Right.
it's, okay, Valley View gets a new roof in 2030.
Right.
Well, the roof fell apart in 2028.
Right.
Now we have to deal with that and we
Yep.
weren't planning on it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
too, we all know, I've been living this for years and years and years. When you start getting to the budget items and going line by line, the first thing that gets cut is capital.
Mhm.
You know,
Because it's not breaking today.
it's not breaking today.
Yeah.
Right.
I agree. I appreciate this. I think we need this discussion. I encourage anyone that's watching this too, reach out to us, reach out and find out more about it, you know, understand it better. And we'll do the best we can to get that information
Well,
out.
I think this is good because even if it's not a topic on the agenda, but John being the chairman,
Right.
anytime there's an update and we have a meeting,
100%.
he
Yeah.
can update us and we can have our general discussion at the
Right.
end and talk about it.
I mean, what I gave you at the start of this discussion, those percentages, I mean, that really is, that's a goose that laid a golden egg right now for us.
Mhm.
If those numbers, if DAS comes back and confirms that those numbers are correct, to renovate Valley View to new, gain 3 additional classrooms in that existing footprint, and have the state pay 73.93% of that building. It makes a lot of sense to me.
Can I ask you one question
Yeah.
without blowing this up?
Yeah.
I see it
For
coming.
Valley View, how much money is the difference between the 53% and the 73%? Do you know?
I don't,
Okay.
no, because the numbers, we're still kind of, we don't have dollar amount numbers yet. We're waiting for those when the guys do their workups.
Okay.
But what we do know is whatever the cost is, we're talking about the state reimbursing 74% of the total cost.
Yeah.
You know, and that's gotta be worth something. But again, my feeling on this all along has been, and I've said this before, we ask residents to be part of committees. They put in months of their time. They come up with what they think is a good plan. We just need to do our due diligence to get the best price we can on that project, to explain it to the citizens to the greatest extent possible so that they can understand and make an informed decision. And then whatever they decide is their decision. but it's incumbent upon us to make sure we present them with the best option
Mhm.
and explain it the best we can, and then whatever they decide, they decide.
Whatever, what we think makes the best sense for the town.
Exactly.
And then they get to vote. It's their
Right.
decision. I agree. I agree. All right, very good.
Mhm.
All right. Ready to go to the next one? Right, appointments to boards and commissions. I know you guys had a discussion earlier. Are we doing anything on that?
Yeah, I think, Bob, do you have first or do you want me to go?
You wanna, well, we've
You
got
have
two.
one.
You wanna do, you do, Riverfront, and then she can do Airline Trail, because she has other pieces to that.
For the Riverfront Access Committee, we have Rick Shar, who was previously on it. We're putting him back after he removed himself so he could serve his time on the board.
And I'll second that.
And again, for the record, I'd like to thank Rick for being involved in a number of committees and giving up those committees to come and help us out on the board. That was priceless, and I'm glad to see him go back.
Well, not only is he giving his time, he's giving his money. He's
Yeah.
Yes.
$10,000
Right.
on any donation. I think he's got
Yeah.
2,500 so far that
Good.
he's raised
Yeah.
and he's matching. So kudos to him. So all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Rick, welcome back on.
Okay, and then we have, and just a little bit, just to explain it just a little bit, because we thought that we had one individual to put on the airline trail steering committee. But sort of a quick history. Rick Shar resigned from that committee in January when he went on the Board of Selectmen. So there was a vacancy that had just sat there. And Steve Byrne resigned November 14th-ish or something. So on paper, there's two vacancies there. But sort of what happened internally in that committee is Carol Bozena, who was an alternate, they kind of moved her into a regular, kind of unofficially, like this board never voted for that, but they saw Carol as a regular. So now we also have an individual, Joe LaRosa, who Lou and Riz would like to get onto that committee, a young man that's very active with that. So what we're suggesting is three different motions.
Can I just add something to I wanted to preface this. This is all, I suggested that Andrea explain this tonight because she had a number of detailed conversations with Lou Pear about this morning. The piece about the individual who was an alternate being kind of informally moved up to a full-time position was unknown to anybody. So we thought that tonight was an opportunity to bring this to the board and kind of finalize it and get it all cleaned up.
Yeah, it is kind of cleanup. I think that's that's
So what do we technically have for openings on the board?
so we have two regulars.
Mhm.
And then we're going to have a what they did, two regulars, but when we do an appointment, an alternate will become available. So two regulars and a alternate,
No, we have
three motions.
do we have one regular? We'll have two regulars. You're correct.
No, he asked technically, there are two regular vacancies because they unofficially moved somebody up, so.
Yeah, from the perspective of airline, there's one, but from our perspective, because we never voted, it's two.
Right,
Correct.
Yeah.
you have two vacancies,
Okay.
regular,
And that's it.
that's it.
Okay.
So what we're doing is, we need a motion to have Rick Shar fill the seat vacated by Steve Byrne.
As a regular seat.
As a regular
Yeah.
seat.
I'll make that motion.
Okay.
And I will second it.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
All those in favor?
Wait a minute, wait.
Okay. Bobby?
Bobby?
Motion.
I did.
John.
John.
Rick Shar is a permanent seat.
Yeah,
And
he's
we're
back.
all about to vote yes. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. One down.
then we need a motion for Carol Bozena, who is currently an alternate, to be moved to the regular vacancy that had been since Rick resigned.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Right. You seconded it? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. 2 out of 3.
And then we need a motion for the new individual that Lou and Riz would like very much, Joe LaRosa, to fill the alternate that was just vacated by Carol
And
Bozena.
if I could just give you just a touch of background. He's Joe LaRosa Jr.
Goes right over
Talk
there.
about feeling old. He was one of my Boy Scouts. And he now lives on Freestone Avenue, his wife and child.
Yeah.
Joe is a great guy. I believe he's an engineer.
Yes.
He was and still is very active in outdoor activities. He's quite a bike rider. Lou and Riz approached us about him months ago, actually, because as you know, we have an airline trail steering committee, but basically any town that the airline trail goes through has a similar committee. And there is at least one individual on another town's airline steering committee that is also supporting Joe LaRosa Jr. for this position because he's just the right fit. But the thing that I've come to realize is when you look at the list of all the folks that are on the Airline Trail Steering Committee, we need some young blood to
Yes.
take over for these folks. And Joe's my son's age. He's in his late 30s, and I'm excited to get him on there. So I told Andre I wanted to give you the plug for him because I think he's a great opportunity.
He was one of my first town tech students.
That's right.
Back in the day.
Yeah, yeah,
Him and his sister, Mary Ann.
right.
So does that mean you're making the motion?
There's a
Bill?
lot.
You made the motion, right? Did you?
No, she said we're looking.
I just
for a
said-
motion.
Yeah.
All right, then
And
I'll make the motion.
Okay.
Second it?
Second,
Okay.
All those in favor?
I
Opposed?
did.
Andrew.
And that was for the alternate,
Yes.
That's for the
Alternate,
alternate.
not gonna-
airline trail alternate.
Yep.
And all those in favor again?
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion passed.
Okay. So
One
that
more?
that's it.
That's
That
it
got
for us.
Rick back on both of his committees, but it also cleared up kind of a little confusion that Andre uncovered today.
Nice job, Columbo.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
You're figuring it out. All right, I passed out a sheet. We went over this last meeting with liaisons.
Yeah.
To the various boards. So it's kind of up to the will of the board, but if we want to go one at a time and see how we want to fill that, in, or if we want to just,
I thought that one of the reasons we actually delayed this is we were gonna put the meeting.
well, for the liaisons, though, not for the actual. You
So
wanna do
us,
the thing?
us liaisons.
Yeah, the Board of Selectmen liaisons to the. committee.
Oh, okay. I thought one of the things we were gonna do before this time was actually put the meeting dates on. So when we looked at we knew what the meeting times were. That's.
You are correct.
Oh.
Correct. Because we didn't know what not to order. You were 100% correct. I withdraw that. Quietly, put that right over there. So,
Okay.
thank you, Mr. Tripp. I appreciate that. All right, refunds of excess payments.
I'll make a motion for a refund of excess payment, ARI Fleet LT Limited, $553.12, $405.10, and $85.27.
I'll second that.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions, motions carried. All right, status reports. I'll start to my left here.
Obviously, we've had continuing negotiations with MDC. That's ongoing. Not gonna get too deep into it. We did have the executive session, last week, to talk about that. And then water and sewer are actually, those come up next week. So we haven't had that meeting this month to talk about.
On November 20th, I attended my first meeting with the library board of directors as the liaison. It was just a good general meeting. There was discussion of their fiscal year 27 budget, preliminary discussion. There was a bit of discussion about the return of us to this room and how things are going. And then there was an update on the America 250 Portland, Connecticut Committee. And there, just one note, and we got the person here. One of the things that they're going to do through the library sometime in March will be to do a screening in honor of the 250th anniversary of Hamilton, which they'll have here at the library. And then they said they want to do a second version. They want to do the musical version of the movie for those that like the music, and they want to do the movie version for those that like that. So it's just something unique that they're doing. And the Friends of the Library provided an update that the next book collection is on January 10th, 2026.
I don't have,
Been exciting, huh?
no, well, I don't have a status. I haven't,
We will
I'm
still,
not assigned yet.
we will still work on that. All right. Mr. Kaminsky, anything you want to share?
No, I'm think I'm all set right now.
Ben, anything you want to share?
Nope, I haven't, I mean, is it fair to assume that the names that are on these, liaisons are whatever's printed is that?
Yes, that's what we have so far.
Okay,
but we
I haven't
added-
attended anything yet. Okay.
So we'll get you on something.
Yep.
Yeah, I think I told Sarah, Elliott that, Veritasi, I'm gonna participate on the senior citizen.
Okay.
Since I am a senior
Oh, okay,
citizen.
because I'm on there as that, but if Dave wants to.
No, I mean,
Anyone can go.
no,
Oh, okay.
yeah, no.
Mike, the only thing I have, long range capital isn't doing anything yet. With planning and zoning, the meeting for Brainerd Place.
Right.
Was that continued to December 11th? Because are they gonna be on their own night or are they tomorrow night?
It's not tomorrow night. Tomorrow night is just
It's a regular meeting,
the regular meeting, right? So the Brainerd one is the 11th.
the 11th.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Bob, but I wasn't able to go to that because I was at another meeting. What was the?
The only
general plan?
big change he was asking, well, there was a couple. The third building, which is to be the assisted living 55 and over. He is asking to add another floor, which would make it 5 stories, but it would still have it below our height requirement. And it would move the building 33 feet to the east. So it'd move it away from Main Street. With building B, which was 2 buildings on the corner, one on Main Street, one on 66. It was getting rid of the central elevator and the walkway between the 2 buildings. But it was making a walkway between, I believe it's B1 and Sage House across from Burger King.
Mhm.
Because they plan on a daycare being there. And the first floor of that building matches up with the second floor of building B. So they would take the second floor of building B and the entire first floor of the Sage House.
That's a cool modification.
So the biggest change is he's asking for, I believe it's 11 apartments.
Yeah, 11.
On the
It
5th
was-
floor. And it would
11.
change that.
And I spoke a little bit with him the day we did the walk around downtown.
Mhm.
And at that point, he mentioned to me, and I wasn't quite sure I understood, but now what he said makes sense. I believe the push of that building 33 feet that way
Mhm.
is just so you don't totally obscure the view of the building that they just finished with the columns.
Yes.
And I
Yes, I
think
was gonna say, it's
that-
opening up the.
Yeah,
That building's looking really nice.
looks gorgeous.
Yeah.
I gotta tell you,
And I think it actually helps their parking because I think it adds
Yeah, I thought it
parking
was.
spaces.
Yes.
parking.
It
It wasn't a lot, but it adds like 8 parking spaces or 12
Right,
parking
right.
spaces.
Right,
So that
It's still-
building B that basically wraps around the corner now, that was the.
Yes.
Right, that's basically gonna be completely completely separate buildings.
Yeah.
Well, it really was 2 separate
It
buildings.
was, and it was
It just with a
connected.
second story walkway.
Okay,
Now that's eliminated. And actually those 2 buildings each went up like a couple hundred square feet each.
Yeah, and I
And
think
there'll be a walkway from the building on 66 to the Sage House
So
to
now the-
connect the daycare.
So visually, you'd see a gap now,
Yeah.
Yeah.
now
whereas
the,
before it
that's-
was
and some open.
kind of
space.
contiguous, you know?
that's what, that is where Chipotle's going down there too.
Yes.
yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Anybody heard any news on Jersey Mike's on, did we get that? resolved?
That's already signed. They were waiting on the sign permit, which they got because they paid whatever taxes they had.
Okay,
So they're full speed ahead.
okay, good.
So I'm supposed to talk to Dan Friday to get kind of an update on times. So I'll share that with everyone here as well. But he's pretty excited about it. But they're gonna, they're blazing ahead there.
So I tell you, since get the elections, alls I hear about is Jersey Mike's and Chipotle.
Yeah, yeah.
Seriously,
Really?
none of this, the other stuff we're talking about,
Wow.
I'm
unbelievable.
gonna have to have Dan come on for an updated podcast.
I-
Maybe you can
Actually,
come on.
that would be actually really good.
Okay, cool.
That'd be
that,
good.
by the way, that was the other question that I had gotten, and I went actually to the planning office because I hadn't heard. But that new construction that's just east of Henkel's and McCoy,
Yeah.
I guess is gonna be a Best Way gas
It's the
station.
best
Yeah.
gas station,
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. I'm due to go back and take more pictures as I
Yeah.
generally do. So
I've never noticed that on
I've
Facebook.
never noticed that. No, I don't do that. No social media presence.
So the spot's going ahead.
Yeah, Spot, as if you've driven by there, they're starting to put the building up, so the walls are going up. And they are full speed ahead. They're still gunning for November
Wow.
next year to be open. I've got to talk to them. Someone asked me when they're gonna start hiring. because there's a couple of like massage therapists and others in the area that are wondering when they could apply for
Oh,
positions
sure.
there. So I'll find out from them, when that's going to be, but I'm imagining sometime early summer.
Mike, you might know, what do they look at for employment, like numbers wise?
So the last I heard, it was like 140 to 150 people there
Yeah.
on it, because that's how many spaces they needed for their workers
Mhm.
total. So that's the number I have, but I'm going to confirm that. Because they have what, 7 eateries there, a number of pools. I'm sorry, 3 eateries, 7 different pools there. I mean, it's going to be a big deal there, but a substantial amount of people.
Okay.
So I will firm that up. Good stuff.
Big.
Yeah, exciting times. Exciting times. Public comment. Dick, nice. Waited this whole time?
Yeah. Over here. Couple quick comments that I was, just to help out here, is that when I was doing the infamous dog park in 2019,
I heard that.
we own 141 acres in this town, not including the new brownstone property down by the river. So I would hope we would be able to find some land for the buses.
Yes.
And my thought, I was driving around today was, and I don't know if we even own this, that land right in front of the wastewater treatment plant where the parking is for the cannabis facility.
Yes.
We own that. There's a
We-
section in the back where that old boat is.
Right.
That's the
Thoughts,
section we
just the
leased.
thoughts.
to the
We
cannabis
leased
plant.
that to those guys.
What?
Some of that, but not all of it. But there's not enough room
Not enough
left
room
to
for
lease. Yeah.
buses.
By the way, we own that boat now. In case you're
Great.
wondering.
So that was just a thought. Or secondly, maybe there's somebody in town that we could ask to donate land.
Yeah, good luck.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The other thing is Bobby's comment about the school needing repairs before 20 years. One of the things I've talked about before is you guys have a $50,000 a year where you put away for open space. Why don't we have that for the capital? You know, why don't we create for the schools or for the town or whatever it is, we put 100,000 a year away, whatever it is, and we start building a fund that when we have these emergencies, it's not an emergency, we can use the fund. So that would be a win-win, I think, if we went down that path. Lastly, our second to last here is M&J Bus. I was here for the first contract. And just to set the stage there, the 6 percentages, we were all a little bit shocked on, but they came in extremely favorable initially to win our business because they really wanted it. And yeah, they're trying to recoup. The percentages that came in initially were probably double what you're seeing now. Because they knew that they're way behind the game from other bus companies that are been getting increases over the years, much more aggressive. So question them, I think that's great, but also realize that even with those percentages, we're still below the DATCOs of the world and things like that. So if we go out to bid, the attorney said there's a good chance you could end up paying more than that contract. And lastly, the percentages, I hope those come to fruition on the school. But we also have to keep in mind that if we get them confirmed, they're not guaranteed forever. So we go a year or 2 years down the road, like the inflation comment, you know, we think, somebody said, don't quote me on this. I think from the time they started the discussions to the, like 8, 9 months later, went up like $7 million in costs. So my opinion has always been, you know, we got to strike while the iron's hot, hopefully, and get something done. Thank you.
Right. Thanks, Dave.
Thanks, Dave.
Thanks for waiting, by the way.
Thank you.
Very patient. All right, good discussion tonight. Informal discussion. What did you want to go? No? Well, gunshot, right?
Who snuck in? Hi, Sarah.
All right, so I have no really things to present. Anybody else? Any other informal discussion?
No, I just want to know, so did you decide who's attending? Like I was going to attend that meeting tomorrow, but
So actually, we can decide right now. So there's 2 people that are attending tomorrow night for sure. Vinny, you're going?
if Vinny wanted to.
Vinny wanted to go, and you want to, so 2, so 1 more person here can go without having us to notice. We're having.
Are you going, Mike?
I'm not.
Okay.
I
Yeah,
mean,
I'm not able to go. I've got another meeting I'm committed
I'm
to.
not able
Yeah,
either.
I'm not able to.
Okay, so if I can make it tomorrow night, I'll try.
Yeah, well,
Okay,
so
and so Vinny and I are,
So it's you 2, and then I could go.
It's at Buck Foreman at 7.
yeah,
Okay.
Right. Very good. Follow-up items, ethics ordinance. Not ready to talk
Oh,
about
I
that.
had one thing for the general discussion,
Oh, yes.
because you mentioned about how we own that boat now.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Um,
Let me
Back, what,
So it was a, let me give you a little history. So that boat's been abandoned for 5 years or whatever. It's been over there for a long time. Getting the town to get ownership of that boat that no one's claimed has taken, I think, 4 months.
can you back up what boat?
There's a boat near the cannabis plant that is.
The town parking lot. by
Oh,
the
in that,
river.
Yeah.
yeah,
So-
we're by the dumpsters.
Yeah,
Okay.
so it's been there for a long time. I guess people abandon boats all the time because they're expensive to recycle and get rid of. So anyway, so it took me 4 months for Deep finally to send us the title to that boat, that unknown boat that someone dropped off a long time ago. So Portland now owns a boat. So if anyone would like to buy a boat or would like to take that off.
Does that
the
mean we
town's-
have a Navy?
We do not.
The SS Portland.
What happens to it?
That, it's
Go for
ours.
the salvage yard.
Yeah, salvage yard, or we could donate,
Watching it.
or maybe the class of 2025 could put it up on the roof of the school.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Have we gotten anywhere with the trailers that are on the property there?
No.
Okay.
The two belong to the hot dog
Yes.
guy, but the second one wasn't one we'd agreed to before. So I need to talk to him, so, that'll follow up. That'll follow up soon.
Are we gonna look into the first one though, because it hasn't been used, it's been more storage?
Yeah, so it's a weird situation. So he made a deal 7 years ago, 6 years ago, whenever it was, that he would pay to get the electricity hooked up
Mhm.
and he would find a home for his business. And he thought he could do a lot of business down there. It hasn't gone to fruition. He was looking for other places as well, but it was kind of and I've never found any paperwork to it. It was just a kind of a handshake agreement.
Mhm.
You do that and you can use that property. It's probably worth revisiting. I don't know. I don't think it was up and doing anything this year, this entire year or last year.
Yeah.
So I will follow up with him. I see him occasionally.
Yeah.
Cause that's the thing, if it was a business that was
Right.
doing something, I could see having it there.
Right.
But right now,
He's
it's,
just
it's just
storing-
trailer
he's just
storage.
his trailer.
The hot dog guy?
Yeah, the hot
Yeah.
dog.
Oh, I know.
Joe
Yeah.
Diniger.
yeah,
Yeah, Joe. Yeah, so so I'll reach out to him. I've got his number. I'll talk to him, but I see him every couple of weeks or so.
okay.
But I'll pursue that though. I think it's like the larger picture of either blight or, kind of cleaning up the town.
Yeah.
And speaking, my last point actually to add to the informal discussion is our abandoned garage right next to Portland Ale House.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Right. So I know we've tried in the past to try to get that cleaned up or do some artwork over it or not. I did talk to the owner, couple weeks, maybe 2 weeks ago about can the town do something there to cover it up? And she said yes, but it probably won't happen for 2 years because they have things they want to do before they're ready to sell it, do something with it. That's fine. But I told her that if she's okay with that, I will find a way to pay for covering up the building temporarily at least and finding artists that will do some kind of artwork there, a mural there.
Mhm.
So I reached out to Dan from Brainerd Place, had a discussion with him a couple days ago. And my ask of him was, can you provide the labor and materials to create a wall that covers it? And probably a wall that we can also take apart in pieces. So in 2 years, if we do create a mural, we can move that somewhere else. He's agreed to that. So he said, just whenever we're ready, whenever we come up with design, he will do that. I'll share that, of course, with Brenda, and let them know. What's that?
We're daughters, Brenda's
Right.
daughters.
Right, but she still is kind of controlling it.
Yeah.
But the guy that owns the ale house has an interest in there. He wants to do something with that, but she said she won't allow that for at least 2 years. So I figured for me, it's worth it because all we have to do is provide labor, and people are willing to help out. And Dan was kind enough to kind of provide the material and the labor to build that. So I will share with you the ideas that we have. I'll probably bring, once the committee comes up with some different ideas and we figure out how it's going to look, I want everyone to share that, but I want the first thing and the last thing people to see when they come into Portland
Yeah.
is something better. So
Yeah.
think about some things. Do we make it just one big pretty
It's
picture?
harsh when everyone that drives down 66 and you're stopped at the light, that's what you're staring at.
Yeah.
Instead of
And that's
that,
the last thing you remember before you leave town.
in a place that got busted, right? So,
Yeah.
yeah, I agree. But let's think about, do we want to have a sign that says things that we're doing in town coming soon? Like, what do we want to do with that space? Because it's valuable. So pretty art and maybe something functional that tells people that, we're the town, come on over and stay, whatever. Like, so we need to think about what we want to, what's the message we want to do.
Oh, we can do, the come on over sign down by Rosito's down there, maybe doing a second version of that.
Or something like that, right?
That or something that's even themed depending on timing
Right.
with,
That would be a great place for it because you're stopped at the light, you can read it.
100%.
When you're going towards the bridge,
Yeah.
if you're the passenger, you can read
Right.
it, but if you're the driver, it's pretty hard.
Well,
Yeah,
and
and-
the sign that I think Freddie Rosito put up years ago down by Dunkin' Donuts, as
Yeah.
you hit the bridge, almost a larger version of that where you can have all the information
Yeah,
where people had time to read it.
yes.
100%.
Yeah.
So, but I think it's a great idea. You can even put an electric sign with some rotating, whatever, like there's a lot we can do, but she
LED
was
sign
willing-
that you can change.
100%, but she was willing, which I'm very thankful for and grateful for, and I appreciate Dan kind of ponying up the cash part of this thing, and that's just volunteers and design, so.
Well, it helps
Um,
his business too, and
well-
not across the street.
He's gonna, yeah, I figure by now, a year from now, he'll probably have like another 100 people living in there, right? He's up to, I think, 85 right now, 82, whatever the number is. So that many people walking across the way and going to that restaurant or walking on Main Street, so.
Right.
Oh, and one more thing, I'm sorry, this is important. Next week, I'm meeting with DOT to talk about our Main Street. One of the seminars I went to yesterday at CCM was when a state road is your main street. And I saw some of the DOT people there as well, but I'm meeting with the head of the highway department for DOT at the Newington office. If any one of you gentlemen and lady would like to come or participate, Dana Beret and I are going there to talk about what we could do about our main street.
What
whether
time
park-
is it, Mike?
When is that?
What time is it?
I'll send it to you guys later
Okay.
on today. It's a morning appointment. I think it's 9 or 10 next week. I think Tuesday, but I'll let you guys know. But we need to be thinking about that. How do we want to redo Main Street? How do we want to do parking? Where can we do some different cuts? The telephone poles on the street, right? That's something else where we're looking at everything. How do we redo it in a way that makes sense? So anyways,
And again,
I'd be interested in, especially when it gets into the telecom stuff, there's some. Yeah, I'd be interested in looking at that.
Oh,
one.
yeah.
And the other thing, I mean, again, speaking to what's gonna happen in the next 5 or 6 years with the riverfront and the spa
Right.
and Brainerd Place, you have to have some forward thought as to what you want Main Street to look like going down the
100%.
road.
and we're doing the whole bar grant right now and trying to figure out that and speeding, right? Because business still.
Gotta slow them down.
So do we change it from 4 to 3 lanes, center change? Like, what do we do with that? Like, can we do something with that? What makes it safer? Speed signs, traffic signs. We talked about that earlier. I think it'll be worth talking
If
about.
there was a way on your side of the street, Dave, where your shop is, and rather than having the parallel parking, if you could have more space created to have diagonal parking, you could fit a lot more people on Main Street.
Parallel parking
It's
is
awful.
bad, it's dangerous.
Yeah.
Well, the most dangerous place I think is parking in front of the post office, and you've got to back up out of there.
That,
Yeah.
Traffic coming there, that is easily, I'm surprised.
people that parallel park there and get out of their car have like,
Oh, it's scary.
Putting diagonal parking there, but you create the situation that we're seeing at the post office all the way.
yeah.
That's the-
True, true.
So,
That's.
But I'm saying if
Eh.
like Mike talked about reducing a lane, that's the only way I think you could do it.
Yeah, well, I think we're in the post office where they put the lines to shovel everything over in front of the biz. That's the most ludicrous thing going,
Yeah,
Yeah.
because you're.
we're pushing
Yeah.
the traffic towards the school. It
Right.
makes
Yeah,
no,
that
makes no
makes
sense.
no sense at all. So,
When they decided that, I was like, what were they thinking?
right.
Mhm.
So
You would want to push the lane away from the children.
Yeah, where the, you want,
Right.
yes, where,
So if you can't make that meeting with DOT, that's gonna be on the hit list. I have a whole list of things I want to talk to them about, because it's their road and we need their permission to
Yeah.
kind of do stuff. Absolutely, so, that's great. All right, that is my last thing, I promise.
All right.
All right, we ready to adjourn?
No, I have a question on follow-up items.
Yes.
What do we have to do to get the ethics ordinance off of this? It's been on here for like 3 years. Do we have to review it and just vote on it and accept it?
So we need to do a review. We need to actually have, so let me ask this. Are there 2 people here that would like to look at that ethic ordinance carefully and report back to us?
well,
And
I
ad-
think,
and
I
ad
think, I
hoc
think
committee.
like to may be a difficult
Yeah.
way to get people. Are there
Who-
two
who wants to
people
be
willing
involved?
to?
Who are the 2 newest people?
Yeah. that-
Actually, Ben, would you be interested in reviewing that as a fresh set of eyes?
I have no idea what I'll be looking at, but I'll take a look at it.
Neither do we. That's perfect.
But what
Okay.
is it that we have to,
So just reviewing the ethics ordinance that we have and whether it makes sense. I don't think there'll be many changes because it's been reviewed before. But I think we've wanted to look at that for a while. I know it's been.
It's one of those things that we have to review every so many years
Required.
and it's the Board of Selectmen that have
to
to
update
review?
it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So it's the
a
rules
town
that we're
ethics.
holding ourselves to?
yes.
It's all
No,
of the
it's all-
town,
Everyone in
yeah.
town.
Everyone in town,
yeah.
And
If you're a town
every-
employee of any kind,
Yep.
like
Yeah.
These are the
conflict of
rules.
interest, the
Yeah.
whole.
yeah, exactly.
Okay, I'll take a look at it.
So if anything, would you like to take a hit?
But I'm really
Well,
surprised that our
apparently
attorney
this
doesn't
is
do
what
it.
happens when you're new. That's.
You get
So,
voluntold.
Andrea, I don't mind if we want,
This is happening,
if
okay.
you want to have a third,
There's not an illusion of choice. You have a choice.
No, yeah, I don't mind, I just didn't know what is, you know,
Right.
If you want to have a third, I will happily.
And I would encourage
as well.
everyone to
Yeah.
read it anyways.
Yeah, we,
and
oh, yeah.
maybe funnel their suggestions to these two.
But I agree with Bob, because I mean, even from the other side of the table, I would see that on your agenda for, it literally is.
It has said
3
that in
years.
charter since I
Those-
came on 4 years ago.
Right, so we should,
So and the other one that's not on there that we've had a couple of visitations, and every time we get a visitation, it reminds us that we need to do, and this is something we do need to make some changes to, which is the blight.
Mhm.
Right, exactly. So,
We should actually look at that too before we have another
Yeah.
complaint that comes back.
yeah,
with an
I'm,
issue.
I'm dealing with two active things right now. So
I'm suggesting that for the charter, as soon as budget season is done and the referendum is over, we attack it in June before we go into summer when we start canceling meetings because we have nothing going on.
Okay.
I think the last couple of years, we've always said, okay, in the summer, let's talk about this. And then we skip right over it.
Isn't there a number of days we have to choose?
It's right on here.
There you go.
From when you start it, you have 16 months.
Right.
Right.
But you want to make sure that when you make those selections and you launch people on their way, that they have the clear direction.
Yep.
Yes.
Well,
I think that's a good idea.
We're supposed to kind of give them ideas of, hey, these are the
Yeah.
top 10 things we want you to look at.
Right.
But if you find anything else, you can report back to us.
So in the meantime, I think all of us should become more familiar with the charter as we have it, read it, review
oh,
it,
I know the charter.
you know, make sure, and if you have any, have any suggestions, oh, you know the charter.
I do.
I know you do. Then we'll be able to talk more meaningfully, but let's gun for a meeting in May after the referendum.
Sounds like a plan.
All right, very good. All right, we ready to go to the adjourn part of the meeting?
I make the motion.
I'll second.
Adjourn.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, motion carries.
Andrea, do you have Rick